Ethereum is going crazy and just got above $3,800 today. Now, you guys know I've been bullish on Ethereum at this point for over 5 years. And I've had a public price target of 10 to 12K per Ethereum for the last 3 years. Just go ahead and watch my videos over the past 3 years. Even at the beginning of this year, I said Ethereum is going to rally until June. Obviously, it didn't happen that early. And I said this year, I expect it to reach 10K at the beginning of the year. Now that everyone is all of a sudden interested in this again, the most common question I get is it too late to buy Ethereum now? And can we still target 10K by the end of the year? So today, let's break it down. I'll cover currently who are actually buying Ethereum the most heavily, aka the institutions. I'll cover the exact numbers. You can see that has absolutely flipped in this month of the amount of inflows and interest coming from institutions into Ethereum. I'll look at the Ethereum current valuation in terms of its ratio compared to Bitcoin and the rest of the market. It is still undervalued. And if I want to buy more, at what price would I buy? Is it still a good idea to be buying? And how high can we realistically target for this year since we're already in July? So let's get right into it. If you guys are new here to the channel, welcome. My name is Dennis. I'm a crypto angel investor for the past 6 years, and I have invested in over 100 crypto startups. Let's just get into the price prediction and price analysis and get that out of the way because that's the most interesting. So Ethereum currently is at $3,815. There are a few ways you can look at this. So the most obvious is just taking the SMAs, right? The bull and bear market, long-term trends and long-term support levels that you can find with weekly simple moving averages and apply that to Ethereum. You guys know that this works really well on Bitcoin with the 20-week and 50-week SMA. When applied to Ethereum, you see because Ethereum has not run basically at all for this whole like two year of Bitcoin bull market. So you see Ethereum has just been kind of flirting with both the 20-week and 50-week SMA. Historically, you don't want to see an asset trade below the 50-week SMA if it's going to be a bull market. This applies because 50-week SMA is just super long-term moving average. And that's why it's a really good sign that it has finally gotten above the 50-week SMA. And this is very convincing right here. This rally we had after the breakout from July 7th. Now, this applies to sentiment as well. So if you look at 2 months ago when I made this video, right? When I made the video, Ethereum was at 1,800, but by the time I released the video, it was trading around 2,300. So a lot of the people that watched that video were super mad because they wanted to buy it below 2,000 and they were saying like, oh, Ethereum is too expensive at 2,300. Why didn't you tell me to buy last week, right? And my point there, and I even pinned the comment there, which was it's not too late. It's still very, very cheap because this was when Ethereum was just getting above the 20-week SMA, and the 20-week SMA hasn't crossed above the 50-week SMA. So technically, it hasn't even started the rally. And once it got above the 50-week SMA, this was a very crucial sign because now we can say 50-week SMA is our long-term support, a new long-term support that we need to see Ethereum hold above in order to be bullish. And this is also very conveniently located right above the previous higher low here. That's at 2,200. So back in May to June-ish, the low that we needed to see Ethereum hold is actually very far away. It's this low right here, 1,400, because the low before that will be the bear market lows in 2022. But now we don't need to take this far range anymore because we have this, right? This is very close to 50-week SMA. So the next time we have a correction, the 50-week SMA and this low will be much closer together. And the 20-week SMA hopefully would have flipped the 50-week SMA. So we can use the same buying methodology we have on Bitcoin already, where we say 20-week SMA is a very, very good value range, and the 50-week SMA is the bull market support. So now, by the time we get the correction, the 20-week SMA, this lighter blue line, should have crossed above the 50-week SMA like this. So then you have a value range around the 20-week SMA and the bull market support at 50-week. So that's going to be very clear. And you see in an actual bull market for Ethereum, like in 2021, this is the case right here, right? And even with the first correction in March to May of 2021, you see if you follow this methodology, you bought when it crossed below 20-week SMA but didn't break below 50-week SMA, that was still technically okay. Similarly down here and similarly back here. Until it really broke below the 50-week SMA, that was the sign to get out. So now that we have this pretty convincing breakout, we can follow that again. So what does that look like in immediate short-term price, right? So at the current moment, bull market support, 2,600. I'm not saying, tomorrow Ethereum can drop to 2,600. Highly unlikely. What's more likely to happen is a lot more consolidation, right? Because look at these two levels are weekly moving averages, right? They do not move until the weekly candle closes. So in the next couple months, if we get anything like this or anything like this, whatever, right? As long as it trades above the 50-week SMA and above these two moving averages, this one should cross above, this one should be slowly moving up, and then you have this lighter blue line as the value range, and then the darker blue line as the bull market long-term support. And then you use that as your long-term entry. Okay. And it's also really good to see that we are having this higher low structure, and there was a high here, and now we have a higher high. So wherever the next dip is should be above the previous higher low here, as long as it respects the 50-week SMA, which is going to be for sure above this previous low here at 2,200. Okay, so just purely looking at price, uptrend is there. 50-week long-term support is, we have gotten above that, so all is good. Now, in terms of valuation, and okay, so before we get into valuation, I am going to be adjusting my trading strategy and trading bots very soon on Pionex. So if you guys don't know, we have had our Ethereum long-term bull market bot, and this is up 84%. And my entry on this was 2,400, whereas the current price is at 38. But you see here, the price range, the low end of the range is 1,400 when we first opened it, because back then we didn't have this new higher low structure yet. So that was a very far target that I needed to put in order to see the bull market actually play out. But now that we have a higher target, I'm going to be adjusting the range up and also compounding the current profit into this bot. So I haven't done this yet. Make sure you follow me on X. And if you are in our trading community, the Coiners, you'll get the updates there as well. But I'll actually be putting more money in, even around these current levels, like 3,500 and above, because it's still very early, in my opinion, because I'm targeting, again, you see here, price range for final exit, 10K. So like, it's still not a big difference from 2,400 to 3,800, relatively speaking, compared to the high-end target of 10K. Okay, so you can check out all my bots, tutorial, the latest updates to the bots with the ranges and how to set them up, all in the links in the description. Okay, so back to the analysis. If we look at the current performance of Ethereum versus Bitcoin and the rest of the market, what does it look like? So Ethereum versus Bitcoin ratio is honestly so relieving to see, right? Because over the last 3 years, Ethereum has been in a consistent downtrend against Bitcoin until April. So April, we had this first breakout. Even here, this could have been rejected, right? But now it is not. It is clearly in an uptrend against Bitcoin. It's outperforming Bitcoin because we have this higher highs and 2 higher lows and 2 higher highs now. So just look up what defines an uptrend: 2 higher highs, 2 higher lows. Clearly, this is a uptrend of Ethereum's outperformance against Bitcoin. So this low right here on ETH BTC, this last low we made at 0.022, this valuation range is what we need to hold above on the next time that Ethereum makes a drop. Inevitably, it always does, where Bitcoin makes a run or Bitcoin drops a bit and Ethereum drops a little bit more. But as long as we have this low being held on ETH BTC, that's all good. That means Ethereum is outpacing Bitcoin, and in historical terms, that also means we are in an alt season, because this basically has always held true in early stage of the bull market. When Bitcoin dominance is dropping, because Ethereum is the largest altcoin, usually that means Ethereum is going up against Bitcoin. That contributes the most to Bitcoin dominance dropping. So that's why you see right now, Bitcoin dominance is also very promising for altcoins. So over the past 2 weeks, I have had this scenario that I'm closely monitoring, both in terms of how much Bitcoin dominance can drop to test this 50-week SMA. And I really wanted to break below here. And this week is going to be crucial, because compared to the Trump rally for alts right here, we're getting there, right? We're already at the 50-week SMA. Question is, can we get a sustained drop below here? And maybe a bounce to test the 50-week SMA, but getting a rejection here. Unlike here, where we bounce very sharp from the 50-week SMA. So we have already had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks. This is just starting the 5th week today. And if you look at the Trump rally, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks. And the 5, and by the 6th week, we had a bounce on Bitcoin dominance, where altcoins started to correct. Are we going to see that? And if we see that, is it going to be like this, where it fails to break below the 50-week SMA again? Or is it going to convincingly break below and then have a bearish retest into a more of a downtrend for Bitcoin dominance? So far, so good. Again, this is actually looking very promising. As good as it looked at the peak of the Trump rally, but is it going to sustain longer? Give it 1 more week. We are going to see an actual clear signal on the weekly candle for Bitcoin dominance. The reason why I mentioned this is because if Bitcoin dominance reverts, most likely, Ethereum will make a correction like this. And then what happens next is, if it's something like this on Bitcoin dominance, where it gets a bearish rejection, chances are that will correspond to Ethereum Bitcoin ratio printing another higher low like this. Because Ethereum contributes the most to Bitcoin dominance because of its largest market cap in altcoins. Okay, but yeah, so far so good. As long as Bitcoin continues to trend up slowly, as long as Bitcoin dominance continues to trend down slowly, Ethereum versus Bitcoin ratio should continue to print higher highs and higher lows in an uptrend, and that will translate to Ethereum USD price going up. So all is good. And then let's look at Ethereum dominance. So Ethereum dominance is also looking really good at 11.8%. This is, comparatively speaking, very good to see compared to Bitcoin dominance, which has been dropping, right? So you don't want to do too much TA on dominance charts because, like I mentioned in our last live stream, the total crypto market cap is always changing because there's always new coins being born. So You don't want to target, previous highs like 20% dominance, for example, on Ethereum. Those kind of metrics, once you have a few years of time already elapsed in the market, it kind of goes out of whack. So more important is to compare Ethereum versus Bitcoin ratio, because the two market caps are not inflated by other random coins. Okay, so you can directly compare them. So with that being said, let's get to the price predictions this year. What are some scenarios that I'm seeing? So if you Google Ethereum price prediction right now, you'll get a bunch of ranges. JP Morgan says 3,800 by the end of this year. It has already been hit. Galaxy Digital says 5,500 to 6,000. Bernstein says 5,000. Some expert panel says, 6,000 average. Kathy Wood is the most bullish. She says 11,800. So I think the truth is somewhere in the middle, but I do have kind of the most optimistic case even above that. So let me show you my calculations. Let me give you the best case scenario, right? What do we need to see first? Well, the higher Bitcoin can run, the higher Ethereum can run, right? Very simple. So if Bitcoin even reaches 200K by the end of this year, which is honestly quite a far-fetch, but let's just say it does. Let's say, this next 5 months is the actual blow off top of crypto bull run this year, and Bitcoin reaches 200K. Hypothetically, best case scenario. Okay, then also in the best case scenario for Ethereum, let's say it gets back to 2021 levels of ETH BTC ratio, 0.08 up here. Napkin math, again, I love to do napkin math, but you take 200K, you times it by 0.08, you get 16,000 per Ethereum. This is like absolute top that you can get. It will not get above 16,000 this year. It's like not possible. I don't see any scenario that it can. Okay, so that's maximum hopium for you. Let's just get that out of the way. So is it likely? I don't think it's that likely. Taking that same kind of methodology, right? What are some average scenarios then? Well, you just tone down our expectation for Bitcoin, what price can it reach, and our expectation for Ethereum BTC ratio, what our expectations are compared to previous diminishing return in each cycle. So compared to the last few rallies of Bitcoin, usually Bitcoin's breakout has led to between 40 to 60% gains in these three runs. These were all averaging out to 50%. So taking that and you take the last breakout level that we had, which was 107K for Bitcoin's last resistance, you can come to around 150K by the end of the year. That is a average expectation that people have for Bitcoin now. So if we take 150K by the end of the year, and then let's look at Ethereum BTC ratio. So one really good methodology is to take a diminishing return per cycle on ETH BTC, because Ethereum has not been able to outpace Bitcoin over the very long term. You see this very clear. So once Ethereum has seen its first, price up after its first price discovery past ICO, you take a Fibonacci retracement from the current hype cycle, the previous hype cycle in 2017 for ETH BTC. And then you look at the following cycle here, how much diminishing return was there for ETH BTC. So you see it got to around 0.382 to 0.5 for Fibonacci retracement. It was not able to get above that level and go to, for example, 0.15 on ETH BTC ratio. So it only got to 0.08 and averaging around 0.07. So then we take that same diminishing return. You can do even like this, right? Just trend lines for diminishing return, you'll get similar levels. So let's have that trend line, and let's also have this Fibonacci retracement tool, taking it at the 2019 to 2021 bull run, right? And then you look at the 0.5 to 0.618 diminishing return for ETH BTC. Again, even that will match pretty similar to the trend line. So if you take these two highs and you try to fit it to the 2021 highs, basically you get something like this, right? By top of this cycle, you get somewhere in this range for ETH BTC. That will be most practical of an expectation for me, where you have the 0.5 to 0.618, maybe, well, I think we get at least above the 0.382 fib retracement, and somewhere around 0.5, which would be average return. That would be getting a call. That will be in this range. So low end return 0.382, that's at 0.044 on ETH BTC ratio. Medium return 0.052, and I wouldn't count above 0.06 for ETH BTC by the end of this cycle. So okay, again, that's end of this cycle, assuming the cycle does not end this year, because if Bitcoin only reaches 150K this year, that means it can still run into 2026, right? Because I'm not expecting less than 200K for Bitcoin this cycle. So let's say we're only, first half of the explosive bull run. So we take a lower expectation on ETH BTC for 0.382. That would be pretty practical in my eyes over the next 5 months. So that puts us at 0.044. Then we have all the numbers we need for napkin math. 150K by the end of the year for expectation for Bitcoin. 0.044, right? $6,600. It's not 10K, okay? 6.6K, it's not bad, honestly. This is what I would expect for Ethereum by the end of the year of an average return. If I get 6.6K, I think it's well on track. It's not too bullish, it's not too bearish, and it still has more to go for 2026. And then finally, let me just give you, if you absolutely need to know, can it hit 10K or not this year? So if you take 10K divided by 150K for Bitcoin, average expectation by the end of the year, that gives you, 10K, not $10. That gives you 0.066. So that would already put Ethereum up here in ETH BTC ratio. So right in this range. So you see, you can look at the past 2 months of Ethereum's performance. Today we are at July 21st. April 21st was the bottom of ETH BTC. So that's already 3 months, okay? So over 3 months, Ethereum has had a 75% gain against Bitcoin. That's actually kind of wild to think about. What will it take for it to reach 0.066 by the end of the year? Right? It has to do another 100% over the next, how many months is that? 5 months. So it's actually very similar. 3 months for 75%, 5 months for 100%. 3 months for 75% is 25% per month. And another 5 months for, is it even 5 months? Am I getting my things right? August, September, October, November, December. Yeah, so 5 months. Similar performance, basically. So let's say we can't have a consistent, long-term chop for Ethereum anymore for it to reach 10K. In order for that kind of a scenario to happen, we have to have sustained hype on the same level that we have had over the last 3 months for the next 5 months. Just imagine, like, can that actually play out the way you want? So since April, everyone that has bought Ethereum has made money and outperformed Bitcoin. We need to see that again until the end of the year. Is that very likely? I don't know. I don't think so. There are other things happening, right? At some point, Bitcoin's going to make a run again. Ethereum needs to take, a side seat again. Until Bitcoin consolidates again, there are a lot of scenarios that can happen. So I'm not expecting 10K by the end of this year at this point, simply because, we are already in July. So, yeah. So back to the beginning of the year when I made that prediction, 10K by the end of the year. That was assuming that the bull run peaks by the end of the year, but at this point, I don't think we can hit 10K by the end of the year. Will we hit 10K by the end of the cycle? Yes, I think so. Because 10K by the end of the cycle is really not hard. Because we have more time to go next year, we just need to extend our Bitcoin expectation. I expect Bitcoin to at least hit 200K. So base case for 200K per Bitcoin, 10K per Ethereum, that's 0.05 for ETH BTC ratio. That's only here, right around the low average return for Fibonacci retracement on ETH BTC ratio. And that gives us more time because we don't need to hit this around January, right? We can extend that all the way to, summer 2026. So let's say here, right? We just need to hit here. And you see, taking this trend to here, that's not too fast anymore. All of a sudden, you can do like chop and then go up, or a few uptrends and then come down and then go up. There are a lot of different scenarios that can allow this to play out. So that's why Ethereum by the end of this cycle to hit 10K, I think very likely we'll get there. But by the end of the year, I don't think it's that likely anymore. I think 6 to 7K, much more feasible. Okay, so that's the price prediction update. I think it's pretty realistic. I'll leave it there. So now, fundamentally, I want to show you some honestly mind-blowing charts that actually make sense and explains why Ethereum has been doing this compared to Bitcoin. So the institutions have actually flipped on Ethereum. BlackRock bought just as much Ethereum as Bitcoin this month and the last week. And this has been the most Ethereum that they have ever bought. I'll show you the charts in a bit. The Ethereum Treasury Companies are going crazy for whatever reason, right? I don't know exactly what the reason is, but the numbers are there. So it's much better to follow the money and follow that they are actually putting the money where their mouth is and buying Ethereum in the past week versus anything else, hypothetically speaking. So first, let's look at the Ethereum Treasury Companies. You guys know, like, Bitcoin Treasury Companies has been all the rage with MicroStrategy, etc. 3%, actually, no, that's not the case. 3.5 million that's held in Treasury for Bitcoin. And that accounts for quite a lot already. I can't do too much math, but that's about 15%. So on Ethereum, that number is actually still quite small. So today, for strategic reserve of corporate treasuries, there is 1.48% of Ethereum supply that's held in companies. For ETFs, that number is a little bit larger at 4.3%, right here, this number. This website is really cool. I dug quite deep to find one of these. It's called Strategic ETH Reserve.xyz. Shout out to whoever made this. I believe it's this guy, fabda.eth. Super cool website. So you see all of the entities that you can rank right here. And over the last 30 days, you probably have seen these two companies being mentioned: BitMine Immersion Tech, and SharpLink Gaming. These are basically the micro strategies of Ethereum. So over the last 30 days, they have bought 84% more and 60% more Ethereum, translating to dollar value. This is like 600 billion and about 600 million each of these two companies that have bought Ethereum. So you probably have seen this guy, Tom Lee. Over the last 3 crypto cycles, he has really made a name for himself from Fundstrat. He is the chairman of BitMine, and he is the main driver of this strategy. And in terms of SharpLink Gaming, Joseph Lubin, he is one of the co-founders of Ethereum itself. Used to be at Ethereum Foundation, and now the founder of Consensus, the parent company behind MetaMask. So they are the main driver of SharpLink. So these are the two main entities that are aiming to become the MicroStrategy of Ethereum. Just some background for you guys. So in terms of actual growth potential for corporate treasuries on Ethereum, it's actually quite a big gap still compared to MicroStrategy, because there's only 1.48% so far. So the growth here is what's very interesting, because back in April, 3 months ago, there was $203 million of corporate holdings in Ethereum. This week, yesterday, that number has grown to 6.6 billion. 56 different entities over the last 3 months have bought Ethereum in their corporate holdings, right? So even though that number is still not crazy, right? 6.6 billion out of $450 billion of market cap, it's only 1.5%. But this growth came out of nowhere, right? 50 other entities put Ethereum in their treasury over the last 3 months, leading to $6.6 billion. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what flipped, but clearly corporate companies are doing this. Whether that's like to pump their stock or, some regulation change, I don't know, right? But something has changed because the money is coming in. And this is true because it's from April only. It's not over the last 2 years, for example. People have been talking about strategic Ethereum reserve for the longest time, but the number only started to move over the last 3 months, which matches this, right? April 14th, April 21st, Ethereum started to go up. Makes a lot of sense. Even more convincing is the ETF flow. So you might say, oh yeah, public companies are just trying to pump their stock. I'm with you, right? Just like MicroStrategy, a lot of people are doing financial engineering to pump their stock, for sure. But BlackRock has recorded a highest daily inflow over 2 consecutive weeks now. So this is July 17th, and this past week is even more. You can track all of these on any of the trackers that we have used over the last few years. Social Value has a really good dashboard. So you see, this is the Ethereum spot ETF net inflow right here. Open that up. And let me put myself on the left here. Look at this. What's happening on the screen here? Net inflow since May, it has started to climb quite a bit. But it's been going just crazy. Over the last literally 6 days, consecutively, like multiple hundreds of millions, all over 400 million. 700 million, 600 million on the day, 400 million on the day. And then before that, it was like 200 million to 300 million per day. And to put that into perspective more, CoinShares has a really good asset inflow outflow for ETFs analysis that they publish per week. And this is the report published today. So out of all the inflows, the most interesting, where is that? Here. The most interesting is this. Per asset, inflow, outflow for all the ETFs. Look at this. The past week, Bitcoin inflow into the spot ETFs was 2.19 billion. Ethereum ETF inflow was 2.11 billion. It's almost the same as Bitcoin's inflow this past week. And this month, 5.64 billion inflow in Bitcoin, 3.31 billion on Ethereum inflow already. And this is because, right, like over the past month, when you see on this chart right here, the last 3 days specifically had a huge amount. So maybe even next month, we can see closer monthly inflow coming into Ethereum compared to Bitcoin. It's already pretty close. It's like 60% there on the month and 95% the same on the week. That's crazy. I did not expect this at all. And look at it like the actual flows by provider. BlackRock, 4.3 billion that they have bought in like total inflow. Half of that is in Bitcoin. Half of that is in Ethereum. So I don't know what's happening. I don't know. Bitcoin is so much bigger in market cap compared to ETH. So, but in terms of how much money is coming into the ETFs, it's about the same right now. It's very, very good to see. So I've talked about this in my Ethereum video, I believe at the beginning of the year, where we were comparing the amount, percentage of market cap of Ethereum held in ETFs compared to percentage of market cap of Bitcoin held in ETFs right here. Let me just try to bring that video up. That's not this one, but that is this one. Beginning of the year, where was it? Like this one. Yeah, Ethereum will pump from now till June. Obviously, it didn't pump till June, right? I'll give you guys that. But in here, we compare the ETF inflows for Ethereum and Bitcoin, right? And we were explaining how because Ethereum is a smaller asset by market cap, it doesn't need to have more inflow as Bitcoin. It just needs to be about the same. And then all of a sudden, that means a larger and larger percentage of Ethereum will be held in institutions' hands versus Bitcoin. So back 6 months ago in January, 3% of net Ethereum supply was right here, held in the ETFs. And if you compare that to Bitcoin, that was, what was it? Like, give me the number. 5.7%. So 3% versus 5.7% for ETF holding of Ethereum and Bitcoin, respectively. Today, that number actually played out. 6.5% held by ETFs for Bitcoin. So it grew by about 0.8%. On Ethereum, look at this, 4.2% already. So it grew by 1.2%. That's a bigger percentage growth on Ethereum versus Bitcoin. So by how much of the total supply is held in the ETFs, Ethereum is growing faster than Bitcoin. This is what that means. And that's mostly driven by this kind of shocking metric here, which is weekly. The institutions, the ETFs actually bought nearly as much Ethereum as Bitcoin. I don't know how to explain it. Fundamentally, what's the reason behind this other than the money is there, something has flipped. ETFs, they're loving it. Corporate treasuries are loving it. Pretty simple. So the next time you read one of these headlines, like BlackRock seeks to approve Ethereum ETF for staking and Ethereum record daily inflows, I know people don't like to think about these as much because they look at the number of 726 million daily inflow, and they say, oh yeah, it's just a number. Ethereum is too big. It doesn't matter, right? But you got to do it comparatively speaking, right? This is very good. The institutions are just as interested in Ethereum as Bitcoin now. Okay, some ways to try to explain this. There are only two that I can really see. So the Genius Act that just passed, where it really benefits stablecoins, USD stablecoin issuers, putting a clear framework for them. Stablecoins are going to grow massive over the next year. The TVL, the market cap of all the stablecoins are going to grow for sure because of this. It's fully regulated now in the US very soon. So Trump has just signed this landmark bill, and a lot of people are saying, oh, this is like really good for Circle, but really bad for Tether, for USDT. But Tether actually plans to launch a new USD compliant, Genius Act compliant stablecoin by the end of the year. So there's some other version of USDT. I think this is going to be dominated by Ethereum. So I'll show you some stats here. There's this really cool website, RWA.xyz, where you can find on their dashboard all of the current circulating supply for stablecoins, all $47 billion of market cap in stablecoins. You see this pie chart here. By the amount of stablecoin on each chain, 135 billion of that on Ethereum, 79 billion on Tron, 10 on Solana, a little bit on Binance, a little bit on Arbitrum. And the top networks by breakdown, 54% of stablecoin market share is in here. 54% stablecoin market share is in Ethereum. 32% is in Tron. 4% Solana, Arbitrum, BNB, 2%. So really, the big winner so far is Ethereum and Tron for stablecoin growth. Now, I think Tron is going to have a hard time to justify themselves in the face of Genius Act if they don't do something different, because Genius Act really did not like the offshore parts of USDT, which is what Tron specifically caters to. If you used USDT transactions on Tron before, you know how it works. It's really not meant for US users. It's meant for like Chinese users, Southeast Asia, European, paying people offshore. It all happens on Tron. It doesn't happen on Ethereum mainnet. And also all the other chains, except for Solana, are EVM, right? Arbitrum is EVM, BNB is EVM, Base is EVM, AVAX EVM, and then Aptos, near don't really matter, right? 1 billion-ish for stablecoin. So really the question here is, if USDT Tether issues this new compliant version, is it still going to be heavily on Tron, or is it going to move more to Ethereum? I think there's something to be said there. And also, Circle, right? Look at the issuers, right? Except for Tether, Circle, Sky, which is DAI, Maker, right? Ethena, BNB, First Digital, this is FDUSD, Paxos. These are all Ethereum based or EVM based. All of this is underneath the network is Ethereum. So stablecoins, Genius Act definitely benefits Ethereum. There are some individual beneficiaries that could benefit from this. For example, BNB. World Liberty is going to launch pretty soon their governance token. This is the stablecoin USD1 that's backed by the Trump family. Their stablecoin, most of that supply today lives on Binance chain. So out of the Binance chain, 5 billion market cap in stablecoin, I believe 90% of that is in USD1, which is a private deal that they did for World Liberty. So maybe there's something to be said about Binance and BNB benefiting from from Genius Act. I talked about this a little bit in our last live stream last week. BNB coin is really near cycle lows compared to BTC ratio. This is potentially a trade that I could make. But yeah, I digress. Stablecoins, Genius Act, going to benefit Ethereum a lot. Even if Tron continues to be big, again, Ethereum is still much more dominant. And RWAs as well. When you look at how many protocols for RWAs currently issue RWAs, 316 of them are deployed on Ethereum. 37 on ZK Sync for whatever reason, but this is a Ethereum L2. And then you have Solana 79, Aptos 13, 9, Polygon. I don't know why, but not a lot of TVL, but still Polygon is a Ethereum layer 2. So not too much more to be said here other than just none of us really use RWA at all, but RWA narrative, whoever are deploying these things, majority of the protocols and value are on Ethereum and Ethereum L2s. There are some on Solana, for example, the tokenized stocks, and on Aptos, on Stellar, but much more of that. About 70% of the market share is in Ethereum and their ecosystem. So yeah, that's just two things I see. This cycle, stablecoins, whenever stablecoins grow by market cap, whether that's from regulation, whether that's Tether issuing a new stablecoin, maybe Circle continues to grow, whatever, right? It benefits Ethereum the most. And RWAs, whenever new RWA tokenization happens, there's a hype, a big fund, big asset manager issues one of their funds, right? Like BlackRock's Buildo fund, this mainly started on Ethereum. Maybe Paxos, with their gold, tokenized gold, mainly on Ethereum. Tether's tokenized gold exclusively on Ethereum. So RWA, whenever it grows, it benefits Ethereum the most. These are the two main sectors that I see that helps Ethereum in terms of narrative. It's not really anything we use per se, but it's all institutional narratives. So I think definitely worth paying attention to. Whenever you see stablecoin news, you see RWA news, think Ethereum. And if you want some exposure, just general exposure to stablecoin growth, to RWA growth, you can bet on Ethereum. Okay, just to summarize, I think this list is really good. Shout out to this guy on X. I just found this. So Ethereum BTC was at all-time 5-year lows in April. Now it's still not that bad, right? Zoom out, right? ETH BTC, it's still nowhere near 2021 levels. It was pretty oversold. ETH supply in smart contract, percentage ETH of ETH staked at all-time high. Trading above 200-week SMA, 50-week SMA, 20-week SMA are both about to flip as well. Stablecoin supply, 139 billion, directly benefits Ethereum. Corporate treasury is constantly growing. This is actually 2 weeks ago, on July 9th, it was 1.1% of supply. Another 0.5% of supply has already flown into strategic reserves in terms of Ethereum total market cap. Today, this is already at 1.5%. ETF inflow, 3.4% of supply. That's already changed to 4.19%. Maybe his numbers are a little bit wrong. But this is actually growing exponentially. Some other on-chain metrics people follow. Exchange holding of Ethereum near lowest levels since 2016. Tom Lee, Joe Lubin, all the time shilling their bags on Ethereum. Everything's good. So I don't think it's too late. Think about who are actually buying over the last week. Okay. When you look at Ethereum price, sure, this has been a rally compared to 2,500. It's a bit higher. It's 50% higher. But this candle, these last 3 weekly candles, BlackRock bought here a lot, more than they've ever bought. Joe Lubin, one of the co-founders of Ethereum, with his corporate strategy, bought 600 million. Tom Lee with Bitmine bought 600 million. I think the most promising sign for me here is the ETF. BlackRock has been buying actively over $3,000 price point, right, for the most they've ever bought, and they believe that they get a better return than ever on Ethereum here, as much as their conviction in Bitcoin, because they bought nearly as much Ethereum as Bitcoin over the last week at these price ranges. So sure, we could get a correction, right? If you really want, you can wait. Maybe we touch the 50-week SMA. Maybe we get, 2,500, whatever. But I don't think this is too expensive, because ETH BTC, not that high, okay? As long as Bitcoin runs, ETH BTC should run. And Ethereum has not been in a bull run for last 2 years. While Bitcoin made new all-time highs, Ethereum has been chopping. We are not even at the same level as March 2024 yet, right? We have 3 of these highs, and this resistance, we're just coming in. We haven't even broken above this. So you can say basically it has been 1.5 years of chop. And with BlackRock buying these ranges, I don't think it's too late. So if you want to buy, you can just start to DCA in. You can use one of our trading bots where, I'm going to be adding more to the trading bot right here. And the bot will literally buy more and more from current level until this range right here. So it'll just buy, like DCA until about like 2,200, 2,300. So I think all of these ranges are good, even including current level, are good. But you have to zoom out. Again, you're not going to get something like 10K by the end of the year. I think that's unlikely. By the end of the year, like 6 to 7K, pretty reasonable. It's not going to shoot up in a straight line. We are for sure going to get corrections, but you have to zoom out. Just like, last time I made this video 2 months ago, where I was saying like it's still a really good time to be buying Ethereum at 2,400, 2,300, whatever, right? You just have to zoom out. We are unlikely to get 1,400 again. And you can't think of it like, the last level was really good, I only want to buy there. You have to look at what's coming next, which is most likely higher prices. Okay, so zoom out, buy slowly, DCA in, use one of the bots, automatically, buy as it comes down. Have your levels set so you know when the bull market is still intact, which is respecting these lows, and you're good. And aim for longer term, 6 to 7K by the end of the year, 10K next year, you're good. I don't think you can go wrong with that on Ethereum. Couple things you should definitely check out. So check out our trading bots on Ponex. Follow my trading strategy for Ethereum. I'm going to be adjusting and compounding probably today. So check it out. I will be updating in the portfolio spreadsheet, and follow me on X at VirtualBacon0x. I'll be making a text post on there. Join our community, the Coiners, if you want to chat, want to follow our trade setups from our mentors, and follow my Ponex bots updates. Whenever I add them, I compound them, I change the price ranges. Okay, that's everything I wanted to plug. Thank you guys, and I will see you on the next video and the next live stream. Bye-bye.